invest in people in the long term, there has to be a mutual understanding.
Hustle hard. Close mouths don't get fed. Thinking strategically, but acting like a gorilla is the kind of marketing that's small. When it innovates very little, it's highly risk averse. It indicates
Imagine a service organization that decides it must respond to customers faster. The leadership team creates a new AI-assisted triage workflow. It classifies incoming requests in seconds, sends routine cases to self-service, and gives the service team a dashboard that looks fantastic. Average first response time drops. The dashboard turns green. Everyone celebrates. Then the customer callbacks begin. Some requests were routed to the wrong place. The team closest to the customer has no easy way to correct the routing logic. The technical team sees the model's performance, but not the frustration caused by a customer repeating the same story 3 times. Managers are rewarded for speed, not resolution. And the organization has made one part of the system faster while making the whole customer experience worse. That is not primarily an artificial intelligence problem. It is a systems problem. And it is one of the defining leadership problems of our time. We are often trained to look for the event, error, person, or department to blame. Sales are down. Fix marketing. A project is late. Replace the project manager. An AI tool produces a bad answer. Write a better prompt. Sometimes a local correction is right. But systems thinking asks what pattern is occurring over time, and what incentives, information flows, decision rules, and delays are producing it. A system is not just a collection of parts. It is a set of interdependent parts organized for a purpose. In an organization, those parts include people, customers, processes, technology, data, incentives, authority, culture, suppliers, and the environment outside the organization. The relationships among those parts matter as much as the parts themselves. That is why an organization is not an org chart. An org chart tells us who reports to whom. A system map asks how work, decisions, information, and consequences actually travel. For me, this leads to a simple conviction. Organizations depend on more than formal job descriptions. They depend on people helping, sharing information, taking responsibility, and responding to the needs of the larger whole. The organization is an important unit of analysis. We cannot understand performance only by studying individual talent. We have to understand the system in which talent is asked to operate. And that brings us to a practical leadership habit I want you to remember. Take 1, zoom out. When a problem appears in front of you, do not stop at the event. Zoom out 1 level. Ask what recurring structure may be creating it. If turnover rises, zoom out beyond the exit interview. Examine workload, decision rights, management capacity, development, work design, and feedback. If a new product is late, zoom out beyond the launch date. Examine customer insight, operations, approvals, incentives, and handoffs. If an AI workflow is unreliable, zoom out beyond the model. Review the data, permissions, review path, accountability, and recovery. That is systems thinking, not making problems abstract, but making their real structure visible. Once we take that zoom out, 3 ideas become essential: feedback, delay, and boundary. First, feedback. A reinforcing loop amplifies change. Great service can create referrals, demand, resources, and still better service. But a burned out team can make more errors, create rework, increase workload, and become still more burned out. A balancing loop resists a gap or change. Organizations use budgets, quality controls, capacity limits, legal review, and approval thresholds. The question is whether these controls protect quality, safety, trust, or cash without strangling learning and speed. Second, delay. Leaders often act before the system has had time to reveal the full consequence. A cost-cutting decision can make a quarterly result look better while slowly eroding maintenance, trust, capability, or customer loyalty. A new technology pilot can look successful in week 2 and expose integration problems in month 4. Delays are dangerous because they invite overcorrection. When the signal has not appeared yet, leaders can assume the intervention failed and push harder, or assume it succeeded and scale too early. Third, boundary. Every analysis draws a line around what it will consider. The danger is drawing it too narrowly. Marketing may celebrate cheaper leads while sales receives weaker prospects. Operations may celebrate utilization while customers wait longer. An AI team may celebrate benchmark accuracy while frontline employees inherit exception handling and risk. The metric may be true. The story may still be false. This is why diagnosis must come before prescription. Organizational development scholarship treats diagnosis as collaborative inquiry into how the organization currently functions, not as a hunt for one defective person or a quick explanation. Before we redesign a process, We should ask the people who do the work. We should look at workflow data, customer outcomes, observations, and multiple perspectives. A model is useful when it helps us ask better questions. It is harmful when we mistake the model for reality. This distinction matters because a rollout can be perfectly implemented and still fail. Think about a CRM implementation. The project may be on schedule, training may be complete, the migration may be technically successful. That is implementation feedback. But has customer response improved? Has quality improved? Has the team become more capable? Has the system reduced effort rather than merely moving it? That is outcome feedback. Leaders need both. Here is the discipline. Do not confuse activity with impact, or a local metric with system health. Systems thinking is not separate from strategy. It is central to strategy. In strategic management language, competitive advantage does not come from owning one impressive asset. It comes from an organized bundle of resources and capabilities that create value in a way competitors struggle to reproduce. The familiar VRIO logic asks whether a capability is valuable, rare, difficult to imitate, and organized to be used. That final word, organized, is where systems thinking enters the room. A brilliant piece of technology is not an advantage if the organization cannot integrate it. A talented employee is not an advantage if decisions bottleneck above them. Great customer data is not an advantage if teams cannot access it appropriately, interpret it responsibly, or act on it in time. The resource alone is not the strategy. The system that turns the resource into reliable value is the strategy. A value chain makes this visible. Design, operations, marketing, customer service, human resources, information systems, and infrastructure do not create value independently. They create value through fit. A product team designs an offer. Operations makes it reliably. Marketing makes a credible promise. Service resolves the experience. HR builds capability. Information system supplies the right information. Leadership aligns authority, incentives, and priorities. When those activities reinforce one another, the organization can become hard to copy because the whole pattern is difficult to reproduce. This is also why coordination is not soft stuff. Coordination is the production system for strategy. The design question is not, should we be centralized or decentralized? The design question is, which decisions should be close to the information, which require enterprise-wide consistency, and how will the organization coordinate the two? There is no universal best structure. Mechanistic arrangements may support control. Organic arrangements may support innovation. Matrix and process-based structures can increase coordination, but add complexity and cost. The point is fit, not fashion. This is where the organization becomes a socio-technical system. Work is not merely technical, and it is not merely human. The quality of a workflow depends on both. Consider an AI-assisted claims or service workflow. It may analyze information more quickly than a person, but its value depends on whether the data is appropriate, whether a person can understand and challenge a recommendation, whether the frontline team has authority to correct an error, whether exceptions reach the right owner, and whether the organization learns from recurring failures. Technology does not implement itself. A fast tool inside a poorly designed system only creates faster confusion. And here is the strategic opportunity. In a world where many tools become broadly available, the harder to copy capability may be the organization's ability to integrate technology, expertise, trust, decision rights, and learning into a coherent operating system. That is not a settled law of competition. It is a forward-looking, strategic interpretation, but it is grounded in a durable idea. Advantage depends not only on what an organization has, but on what it can repeatedly coordinate, learn, and adapt. This brings us to the so-called agentic economy. I use that phrase carefully. It is useful shorthand, not a settled economic category. By it, I mean a period in which AI-enabled workflows can observe information, generate options, route work, use approved tools, and in some cases take bounded actions at greater speed and scale. That does not mean organizations should hand over autonomy. It means leaders must become more deliberate about bounded delegation. The critical question is not, can the agent do this task? The critical question is, what system are we creating when it does? Who initiated the work? What may it see and use? Which tools can it invoke? What decision is it making through ranking, routing, or summarizing? Who can challenge it? What happens when confidence is low, a tool fails, or the effect cannot be reversed? Those are leadership questions. NIST's AI risk management framework offers voluntary guidance organized around governing, mapping, measuring, and managing risk. It does not certify a system as safe, and it does not dictate one universal architecture, but it gives leaders a useful discipline. Risk management must run through the lifecycle, not appear only after a failure. For any consequential AI-enabled workflow, I would ask for 8 basics: a named purpose and boundary, a clear workload identity and least privilege access, approved data sources with enough provenance to understand what informed an output, an explicit tool and action boundary, proportionate audit evidence, human escalation with a safe default if review is unavailable, tested recovery or compensation paths for consequential actions, and ongoing evaluation as models, tools, data, and conditions change. That is not red tape. It is how an organization converts automation into trustworthy capability. The alternative is accountability failure, a customer harmed by a decision no one can explain, an employee overridden by a system no one owns, a local gain that creates a larger loss. Organizations will still need specialists, engineers, operators, marketers, designers, finance leaders, teachers, clinicians, and frontline experts. Systems thinking does not replace specialization. It connects it to the whole. Digital literacy helps us use the tools. Functional expertise helps us do high-quality work. Systems thinking helps us see the second and third order consequences of putting those tools and that expertise into motion together. That is why I believe systems thinking may become a strategic competitive advantage. Not because every leader will become a systems theorist, not because every organization needs more complexity, and certainly not because AI removes the need for human judgment. It may become an advantage because organizations that can see interdependence, design clear boundaries, learn from feedback, and preserve accountable human judgment will make better choices as the environment accelerates. So here's my challenge. Choose one important outcome in your organization: customer resolution, product delivery, employee retention, student success, safety, innovation, or cash flow. Map the system around it. Name the people, decisions, information, incentives, handoffs, technologies, feedback loops, and delays that shape it. Ask where a local win might be creating a hidden cost. Then make one coordinated, bounded improvement. Define the evidence. Listen to the people in the work. Learn from the result. Adjust. Do not wait for a perfect map. Do not confuse a dashboard with understanding. And do not let the speed of new tools convince you that the whole system has disappeared. The future will reward organizations that can move quickly. But the organizations that endure will be the ones that can see what their speed is doing to the whole.
Reflect on some of these leaders that one might consider to be heroes and think about their lives.